Soviet Russia enters Afghanistan in 1979.
Yeah.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but as I understand, so America, the West, other countries didn't get involved in the situation immediately. Um, it, it was maybe about 4 or 5 years after that they decided to think that we can get back at the Soviets for what they did in Vietnam, and we can make something out of this. So when did um, America's interest develop in what was happening in Afghanistan?
Actually, when if you look into the expansion of Soviet Union, not only in towards South Asia but elsewhere as well, it's not that it is not something that we can discard that the United States of America was not looking at where Soviet Unions are moving. Rather, they were very much concerned since the very inception of Truman Doctrine that wanted to contain Soviet expansion through two instruments. One of the instrument was economic instrument, that was the Marshall Plan of 1948, which helped to reconstruct Europe, and another instrument was the military instrument to contain Soviet Union, which was the NATO, North Atlantic Treaty Organization, still alive. So on United States of America has eyes on Soviet Union from the very beginning, but when they ended up into Afghanistan in 1979, that was after a kind of detente, which was a period of peaceful coexistence between the former Soviet Union and United States through an agreement which happened in the aftermath of Vietnam War. So for that time period was a kind of confidence that maybe Soviet Union would not be expanding further, but it did not. But it actually it happened, and it raised very strategic concerns within the strategic calculation of the United States. So in the beginning, the calculations were mostly in terms of scenario building and posturing, then how Soviet Union is expanding further. But keeping in view the history of Soviet Union, if you look into Russo-Japanese War of 1905 to 1910, when Soviet Union was expanding towards Port Arthur of the Korean Peninsula, which is in North Korea at that time,
Mhm.
more precised in geographically. So that was actually an expansion of Soviet Union towards warm waters. So usually in literature you will find out that Soviet expansion towards it was Afghanistan was not the target as a whole, rather Afghanistan was a mean to achieve towards the end, which was getting to warm waters, which were in Pakistan at that time. They're still here, but geographically speaking, keeping in view the historical interest of the Soviet Union. So most of the intelligence reports which were produced by Western capitals, they mentioned that Soviet Union is heading towards the warm waters, the same way it was heading towards the warm waters of the Korean Peninsula at that time. So this calculation was not only within the strategic circles of or security circles of the Western world, rather the same understanding was within Pakistan's supreme intelligence agency, the Inter-Services Intelligence Agency (ISI). So Pakistan was also very much concerned about Soviet expansion at that time, but the means available to counter such a big mobilization of Soviet Union, Pakistan was unable to cater or find out a way forward. So in terms of understanding, Pakistan has been capable of decoding Soviet interests. The same was true for the Western world. But on local, you have to find out what is the local pulse. So as we have already discussed, the tribal orchestration of politics within different areas of Afghanistan, even they did not like such a move of the then Afghan government, who wanted to facilitate Soviet Union's expansion towards Afghanistan. So a local resistance was there. So that local resistance was seen as an opportunity by the Western, community. Especially, I'm talking about the United States of America, and Pakistan was also keeping an eye. on such developments. So it was, by 1983 that the United States formally started communicating with the then Pakistani president, military dictator, and president General Ziaul Haq, who initially was very much reluctant to become part of, United States, war of insurgency in Afghanistan against Soviet Union. But later on, in another occasion, it was decided that they would come together and make an alliance and try to strengthen the local mujahideen in a way that they can continue the resistance against Soviet Union. And then it actually unfolded an alliance between United States of America and Pakistan, and there were some other countries like Saudi Arabia who were involved with that.
That's very interesting what you're saying about Soviet access to warm waters, because it's something similar that we're hearing currently with the waters bordering Ukraine and who has control over that, as well as I think Russia and before that Soviet Union had access to warm waters in Syria in Tartus, which is why there was such a big kind of a strong bond, and that why that's such strategic importance to Russia, what's happening in Syria.
Yeah.
Um,
So yeah. Yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
that's interesting. But also, I was
Yeah.
wanting to know. So, um, as Pakistan started getting involved in what was going on inside Afghanistan, um, I remember there was like lots of threats, whether real or perceived, for Pakistan as well. There was some news about how um, there was red lines drawn across Peshawar and other places, um, saying that it could be like the target for like a nuclear strike or something like that because of what Pakistan was doing inside Afghanistan against the Soviets. Is there any
Well,
truth in that?
no, not as such, but when you go back, for example, 1950s, late 1950s, yes, we can find something related to Peshawar. For example, in 1954 and 1955, September 1954 and September 1955, when Pakistan joined U.S.-led alliance to contain Soviet Union, which was CENTO and CENTO. These two security pacts actually created annoyance in the Soviet Union, and because of that, when Pakistan ended up in a strategic agreement with the United States of America, which helped Pakistan to build its military strength. So as a result, Pakistan has to offer its an air base in Peshawar, which is known as Barabar base. So, and one of the incident which happened at that time, it was U-2 incident, which was spying over the Soviet territories, and Soviet Union was very much annoyed with that, and because of that incident, Soviet Union actually circled Peshawar and mentioned that they are not happy and they would take care of that particular engagement of Pakistan with the United States of America. So Pakistan has been paying price on that, but and the same perspective of Soviet Union later on created a lot of problems for Pakistan when 1971 Pakistan was facing some political crisis in East Pakistan now, which is known as Bangladesh. So because of this trajectory, troubled
Mm.
trajectory between Soviet Union and Pakistan, this India signed a friendship treaty with Soviet Union in 1971, in August 1971, and when we see that in December 1971, precisely on 16 December 1971, Dhaka falls and the East Pakistan disintegrates from Pakistan. So in that, when Pakistan was trying its best to bring ceasefire resolution in the United Nations Security Council. On three occasions, Soviet Union vetoed that resolution. So that's a troubled history of Pakistan in terms of geostrategic, politics, which was led by the United States of America under the notion of containment of humanism. And since Pakistan was part of containment of humanism, and it had been, as a result, it had been, paying a big price for that. So when The same happened in 1979. The Soviet Union was expanding towards Afghanistan. Pakistan was very much apprehensive of Soviet intentions, that Soviet Union would not stop itself only in Afghanistan, move forward towards warm waters. And there have been, in Afghanistan's perspective, there have been a lot of disorientation, that even the border between Pakistan and Afghanistan, which is known as Durand Line, even Afghanistan's few regimes have not been able to, accept it as a legal, as international sovereign border between Pakistan and Afghanistan. So these all, fault lines were, convincing Pakistan that they would be moving ahead and moving forward towards Pakistan's territory. So all these complications were again convincing Pakistan to become part of so-called Soviet jihad, and United States led proxy war against Soviet Union and Afghanistan. So as a repercussion, Pakistan was facing again some, bombings, some strikes in the bordering areas of Pakistan. But at that time, Pakistan was not a declared nuclear country, and does not have detonated any device. So Pakistan became nuclear weapon state on 28th May 1998 as a reaction to Indian nuclear detonation on 11th May 1998. So that's the nuclear, context comes
Yeah,
afterwards, and
yeah,
after 1990. Yeah,
yeah. It's interesting because of the troubled relations between the Soviet Russia and Pakistan. Some of that, as I sometimes hear in the news, some of that tension still persists, and both governments are trying to overcome whatever happened in the past, because Soviet Union was a different entity to what US to what Russia is today. And I think even Imran Khan, as the Prime Minister of Pakistan, was inside Russia when Russia invaded Ukraine recently. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so
You're right.
yeah, so are things improving between Russia and Pakistan now?
Yeah, attempts have been made from the both sides to introduce normality in terms of diplomatic relations. But when it comes to Pakistan's geoeconomic, geostrategic, and geopolitical dimensions of national interest, uh, Russia does not become a natural ally in that pretext. Natural ally in terms of geoeconomic, geopolitical, and geostrategic dimensions qualifies United States of America all the time. It's not that Pakistan has some Western, love relationship or a crush with America. It's not like that. But keeping in view genuine security needs and United
Yeah,
States diplomatic and military exposure to the global governance. So it is a natural friendship and alliance between United States of America and Pakistan that has always paid well. But somehow, as I have already told you, that the repercussions also did not help Pakistan to stay firm. But when it comes to cost benefits, so I think Pakistan has reaped more benefits as compared to cost.